We are live. So here we are with episode 1, season 1, pilot episode of the Millennial Gentleman podcast. Here I am with my co-host, Tremaine Hayhoe, the infamous, the legendary director of the Rideshare movie, feature-length horror film, as well as a variety of other films, such as The Bachelor Party, Part 1 and Part 2, and has recently completed filming his latest horror film, the movie Simp. And what are we drinking tonight, Tremaine?
We are drinking, and when I say we, I mean me, I guess, because we'll get to what you're drinking next. I got some vodka, some Lake Tahoe Blue vodka with a little bit of orange juice and a little bit of I had a tad of orange juice, but I'm trying to lay off a little bit of sugar, so I put some club soda in there too.
Okay, pretty fancy.
A little fancy drink. It's a nice, it's very tasty. Very nice. It's the day after my birthday, so I'm feeling pretty good, feeling nice, feeling chill and having a good time. I'm happy to be here as a co-host on episode 1 of the Millennial Gentleman podcast.
That's right. So I am drinking. I'm just kind of in the mood for something unique, and I saw this bottle called Ace Pineapple Craft Cider. So it's hard cider apples with pineapple mixed into it, and it advertised itself as gluten-free vegan. I'm not really sure how you could make a cider that isn't vegan, but apparently they needed to specifically spell it out. It's not bad, actually. It's pretty good.
I think it's like any marketing ploy. It's like how do we make pineapple cider attractive? Like, just say it's vegan. I don't know.
That's right.
I don't know.
What's the latest buzzword right now?
Yeah, what is vegan? Vegetarian, vegan?
I mean, no shit, it's vegan. It's a cider.
It's organic. We handpick these pineapples and dipped them in alcohol. I don't know.
That's right.
It's all organic.
And I can't. Is there a beverage where you just rinse pig's blood or something into it? Like, why do they need to put vegan on the bottle? Like, it's kind of goes with saying that it's probably vegan.
I don't know how that works. Is some alcohol raised in beef before mixing with a fruit?
I can't think of one. I don't think that there. I mean, I'm sure there's some. Well, there's sour cow's milk or something. There's fermented cow's milk.
Yeah, I feel like that's saying caffeine-free air.
Right.
Right. It's like, well, I didn't know there was gonna be air in the caffeine or caffeine in the air, but it's just air. But yeah, I guess there's no caffeine in it. Or no sugar. Yeah, it's like taking credit for what you're not actually. You're not doing anything. You're not doing anything that has anything to do with it. So it's like, why do you have to take credit for something that has nothing to do with it? It's like, I don't know. Anyway.
Can you imagine being the person that takes the bottle of cider up to the counter and asks somebody at the grocery store, "Is this vegan?"
Is this half infused pineapple and what other fruit was it?
Well, it's pineapple and apple because the ciders are made from apple juice.
Pineapple and apple. Okay.
Yeah. So
is this pineapple / apple cider? Is this vegan? Because if it's not vegan, I'm not going to drink it.
The reason why I say that is because people that work at these companies aren't stupid, right? There's probably actually been requests from distributors to specifically put that it's gluten-free vegan onto the apple ciders because they've had customers ask them if it's vegan. And that's why they did it. That's almost certainly what happened.
Well, that gives me more of a reason. Like, okay, that they actually have a reason because they've got so many damn stupid questions.
And isn't that just astounding? Like like how many people do you think had to have done that from how many different, liquor stores, grocery stores, quickie marts? Like how many people had to submit the request to put gluten-free on the label, vegan on the label before they did it? It's probably a lot.
It should have an asterisk, by it, and it's like, an asterisk, and then it's like you follow the asterisk at the bottom, and in tiny letters, it's like, yeah, by the way, if you're freaking wondering, yes, it's gluten free, and yes, it's organic, whatever, vegan, it's vegan, you idiot, and like this is made of a concentrated fruit, it's like there's no pig's blood in this. There's no pig's blood in this.
They bred them on a ranch in Texas.
Well, that was the whole thing. There was you've heard of like you remember Super Size Me, the documentary, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the sequel was called Holy Chicken. You ever watch
that I liked it a lot, actually. That was a pretty good one. I thought it was very funny.
It was really funny, and it was not, it was all about the marketing, right? It's like he had a quote-unquote organic farm-raised chicken sandwich fast food joint, right?
Yeah.
That he made. But the thing is like, there's all these loopholes. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, you're organic if you have a cage that's 2 feet by 3 feet. Like, I'm being very, like, I'm making shit up right now.
As I recall, it was free range. It wasn't organic. It was free. Well, I think there was organic, but the bit you're talking about is the free range part, right? Like all they had to have is this minimum amount of space. So he created the minimum amount of space, opened up to the shed, and it was like a crack in the shed, basically, that they could go in. None of them went into because of the nature of how you have to raise these particular types of chickens, right? They have to be in this ultra heated environment where they literally die not because they've been genetically engineered this way, but just because of the breeding iterations and how they've been bred to basically just grow super fast and super big in all the right places through selective breeding, the animal husbandry. They have to be in this heated environment at all times or they'll literally die. And so you actually don't want the chickens to be free range because they'll die.
Yeah. Dude, but that was the thing though. It's like if you give one, it's like one, whatever percentage it is. Like if X percentage of chickens have this amount of space, they're all free range chickens.
Yeah,
they're all free range, happy chickens grown on a happy free range farm,
Right.
So, but that's marketing. Marketing.
It's marketing. And there are like actual legitimate free range chickens. It's just not the kind that people buy at the grocery store. They buy the broilers, who are these humongous, super mega chickens, basically, that have been selectively bred to be big. And so heavy that they can barely walk when they're fully adults.
But this is what blows my mind though. It's like you find the rotisserie chicken on Costco. Were you the one that was telling me about that? Like Costco takes a loss at the rotisserie chickens because it's like $7 for a full chicken, and it's like, how long did it take for that chicken to be raised, for that chicken to be fed, for that chicken to be, nurtured, just to be just to be dead and plucked and on a rotisserie. And it's $7 a whole chicken at Costco.
I don't think that was me that said that, but I'd believe it because there definitely are items at the grocery stores that are sold at a loss, so that people will come in and buy other things that will go with the items.
Dude, I'm like, dude, there's no freaking way. That makes no sense. Like if you look at $7 for a full ass chicken, a big ass full ass chicken, that feeds a whole family of 4. One chicken. Right, you add a little rice, not just the chicken. Add a little rice, add a little salad. You know what I mean? Like that's a pretty cheap dinner. Like you could feed a family of 4 for $12. If you include the rice and salad, maybe $15, 4 people. That's pretty damn good. Like, there's no way. I'm like, dude, this full chicken, this one chicken that's been don't know how old they are when they die or when they slaughter them. It's like what, 4 months, 6 months, or something, or more.
Yeah, it's not many months after they're alive that they're ready for dinner.
Yeah, ready for dinner. So it's like I'm just like thinking like, well, there's got to be more than $7 worth of feed in a span of 6 months. I don't know. I don't know. It's just crazy shit I think about.
I don't know the economics off the top of my head, but I know what you're saying. Well, and it's there's definitely items that they sell at a loss, get people into the door, and they want you to buy things that will go along. You know, they know if you're going to buy, like, let's just say, I'm just shooting it at the hip, but if you buy chicken, you're probably going to buy, you know, dressing to go on the chicken. You're going to buy, you know, other items. You're probably going to want to drink some wine, barbecue sauce. Yeah, like there's other things. There's the vegetables. There's all sort of stuff that goes along with it.
True. That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So they advertise, you know, the coupon, come in, get this thing on discount because that item is going to be associated with a bunch of other stuff that you have to buy too.
Yeah, because you can't just eat a plain ass whole ass chicken.
Eat the raw chicken.
No, it's smart though. Eat raw chicken live as they're.
That's right. But yeah, if you just eat chicken, I mean, you can eat chicken without seasoning or sauce or anything, but it doesn't taste as good. We've been spoiled by all our seasonings and other crap that we put with our food. You know, we really have. Anyway, we're probably been 10 minutes into this. We should talk about something other than just nonsense. So the Millennial Gentleman brand is mostly, you know, I mean, so let's just talk about it's about chickens. The channel is really about lifestyle advice for men, but usually what I've done with this channel has been talking about like dating stuff and things like that. And Tremaine and I are always having these long conversations into the night, kind of like what we're doing right now. Like we just have a drink, and we chat, you know, because he's still in California, and I'm elsewhere. We used to hang out all the time, but
he's in
parts unknown, and you know, we just would chat in the night about all kinds of stuff, and we kept saying like we'd have these great conversations, and then we'd be like, "Damn, this would make a great podcast. Like we should do a podcast," and we never do it, and it's kind of because I'm just lazy, I guess. But now, like, we're gonna make a podcast, gonna put out content, especially because I launched the Yamhill Advocate, which is consuming almost all of my time now, because I've been doing these.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. It is, but I'm like a one-man band right now, just like churning out content. So I have an article out every day, trying to, and not just like some, you know, regurgitation of a press release, like entire new article expose about this. You know, I'm just gonna say, like, it's a cult. Like some people are like, "Oh, Carrie, you're using device language." No, it's a cult. They have unusual beliefs. They're fanatical about it, right? It's a quasi-religious structure. They have members that have to take actions every single day toward the agenda of the cult. The belief system literally says if you use logic, you're a white supremacist. You know, it's a cult.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah. If you use logic as part of critical race theory, it's white supremacy. You're a white supremacist if you use logic, because it's the white man's tool. Even though logic wasn't created by quote unquote white people, it was. I think logic actually has its origins in China, if I remember correctly, and it, you know, was spread around the Mediterranean and it came to Europe eventually. But it's like they just have this belief that a great way, the scientific way of investigating truth, that's bad. And the reason is because they want people to use motivated reasoning. Motivated reasoning is the psychological term for when a person makes decisions because the belief reaffirms what they already believe. So an example would be anecdotal stories. Anecdotal stories where like somebody tells you something.
Bias? Is that what it's called?
Well, there's cognitive biases too, but motivated reasoning is specifically like somebody tells you a story about themselves, and you just believe it because it already affirms what you already believe to be true about the world. So somebody says, like, I had this terrible event that happened in my life, and this person treated me terribly, and it must be because of racism. And you believe them because you believe that race must be the reason why this person had this bad experience. Now, there's no evidence, because they just told you an anecdotal story. There's no real evidence that that was actually the correct interpretation of that event. It could have been true. It could not be true. But you believe it wholeheartedly, fanatically even, because it already rings true in your heart. You feel that it's true, so it must therefore be true. You are motivated to feel that it's true. That's what motivated reasoning is. You feel that things are true, therefore they are true.
Right.
And it's a
feeling.
It's a feeling. Exactly. And you can feel things that are wrong. You know, another good example would be trust. And this actually gets back to what we were talking about earlier tonight. Just you and I offline. When people trust another person in a relationship, right? And a lot of people probably be able to relate to this. But you have a trust with somebody else. You believe that they also deeply love you. They would never betray you. And you have this establishment of trust with them, this feeling of trust and love with that person for a long time. But in actuality, it could turn out the entire time you were in this relationship, they were deceiving you. That means that your trust was misplaced the entire time. You felt they were trustworthy. They weren't actually trustworthy, because in actuality, they were lying to you and deceiving you the entire time. And that's the difference between objective reality and how we feel about reality. Sometimes what we feel can be mistaken.
Well, and also there's like blind sides. It's like
Sure.
Oh, well, I trust her. She's cute. She's funny. She's smart. She's awesome. You know.
Those are all the reasons why you believe those things.
When it comes to like relationships, it's like people get doughy-eyed. Oh, she's so cute. You know, she's not deceiving me. She's just hanging out with her guy friend from grade school. He's just a friend or whatever. You know.
Sure.
There's nothing there, right?
And
you trust him.
You
trust her. She's hot. She's cute. Whatever. And it turns out it is what you thought it was. You know, any logical person, well, he's with this other guy for 6 hours at a time. Like
those are red flags, definitely. You know.
Yeah, but like that's an exaggerated response. But at the same time, I mean, for me, I feel like I'm always the sense of I always trust everyone until they give me a reason to not trust me.
That's a good way to go through life. I'm not suggesting that you should, assume everybody's out to get you. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm simply saying that.
No, definitely don't. I mean, you can't be like too naive either.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, oh well, they're a nice guy because I met him. I met him a month ago, and they're a super nice guy. I met him at a party. They're super cool. He'd never like do me wrong or like lie. So you just can't be naive at that. You kind of got to go through that. But at the same time, I mean, look, like I've personally been, I've kind of told girls kind of what they want to hear and then not really act. So this kind of my expose.
That's not good.
No, I mean, I know, but it's like, hey, like, some certain girls that I know that like I probably don't really want to date this girl, but like I know she kind of wants to date me, but it's like, or am I gonna get some action tonight or what? Like, I'm definitely not gonna get action if I just like treat her like she's like nobody, but like if I treat her that like we could potentially have something, we could probably get some action. You know what I mean? Look, this is me being real. This is me being raw, unadulterated. I don't know.
It's a tightrope to walk. There's
it is a tightrope.
There's people that are like full on players. They try to trick the girls. You never struck me as a tricker type of person in that regard. I think it's mostly about like you're up front, like, hey, I just want to fool around for tonight. You can be a special someone with me tonight. I'll be a special someone to you. Have some fun. See where it goes. which is really common in dating culture now, especially in towns like Los Angeles, where we had been. How many years we were living in LA? Like 3-4 years, something like that.
I lived there I lived there for 8 years. I was there for 8 years.
Okay, 8 years.
Yeah, 2011 to 2019. So like, I was there for a good 8 years, and like, I had my fill, and yeah, you tell girls what they want to hear, but I'm also just thinking at the back of my mind, like, okay, maybe she will be maybe she will be girl from the show, maybe she won't be, because some gals you date, they seem to be super cool, and the next day they're a completely different person. It's like you hit it off with her one day, and you guys get along really well, and then the next day she's someone that you did not know. So it's tough. It's weird. It's hard to gauge. And like, I'm not gonna say like I'm, every guy wants to, like, especially if they're chicks. Like, I've definitely, I've had my good times with chick girls that are maybe a little bit out of my league. I don't know. Or in my league. I don't know.
They're all in our league. They're all in our league, my friend.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not they know that we're in the same league.
Right. So it's like it's such a weird thing, dude, man. It's such a weird thing. It's tough.
I hear what you're saying. It's a tightrope to walk sometimes, especially with the way the dating culture is now. Like, it's not created by the dating apps. Things like Tinder are so successful because the culture was already toward that direction, I think, and it just, it's a supply and demand situation. People were already gravitating toward these quick hookup sort of relationships, and things like Tinder just made that easier to facilitate. We've become in this sort of fast food kind of culture where we just want everything on demand. I mean, Airbnb is a good example of that. We want people to literally drive to us, to our location, to pick us up, take us to this spot, which is a taxi sort of thing. But we want to do it faster and cheaper. Even if it's less quality, there's less security to it. We want our food brought to us by freaking, like, I never in my entire life would have thought we would have delivery from McDonald's.
Dude, no. So get this. So like, I mean, I did Postmates for a bit, and like, dude, get this. Like, I would have a McDonald's delivery, right? I'd have a McDonald's delivery, so I go in, I get the delivery from Postmates, whatever. Okay, I'm here for Mike Z, XYZ, whatever it is. Yeah, I get it. And I drop the order off half a block away. Half of one, not even a full block. Half of one block away.
Jeez.
Oh, person on the second floor. Wow, heaven forbid they go downstairs one flight of stairs and go half a block to the McDonald's next door.
Right. That's just like completely lazy. And they're willing to pay for that laziness is the thing, which is, how capitalism works. But at the same hand, they're you could just go do it, yourself. If you just took the time to get off of the Netflix and the World of Warcraft and just, put down whatever it is that they're doing. That's clearly more, what's the delivery fee? It's like $10 for the delivery fee.
Whatever these kids do. Yeah. Dude, no, it's like, yeah, you could walk literally half a block, grab your damn Big Mac or quarter pounder with cheese, eat it there, or just go back to your place.
And you probably get it faster, too.
You can get it delivered straight to your door. You can go to anywhere. Oh, yeah, you would get it way faster if you just walked there and got it, of course. But, like, now, you got to get it. But then, like, you got to find, like, especially in LA, it's like you got to, like, decipher a maze of, they're in building E, 3744F, 3744F in the
dash 20
somewhere in the complex.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, dash 20. Yeah, it's like, and you're looking at a map, and it's like you are here, and it's like you're nowhere near where 34-20 is. So it's like, and then you have to like jump through all these hoops in order to get to the damn apartment building, and then but the best people are like, yeah, I'll meet you out front. I know it's a crazy maze, like I'm there, like I'm here. At least they make that effort to come out to the gate. Like, hey, I'll meet you at the gate. Let me meet at the gate. You know what I mean? Like, don't be too lazy. Some people are though, like I delivered to people that were like, in wheelchairs, like 95 years old in a wheelchair, and I went to them and found out where the hell their apartment was. The thing is, like, it's not their fault. I mean, a lot of apartment complexes are just, built like mazes. It's not really their fault that it's a ridiculous way to get to them. But, but other people are just, like, lazy. They just don't like.
It could be part of the culture of Los Angeles because of there's so much traffic during the day, so it takes, really long time to get anywhere by car. You can get there a little bit faster if there's a metro line that's close to your location. But if you're like, you want to go from Studio City to like, Hollywood in the middle of a day, like it's going to take you like, could take you like 2 or 3 hours. It's pretty bad with the traffic. So it creates this culture where people like don't want to go anywhere, and they don't want to do it unless they're going to go to like a bar or something, and they want everything to come to them, which is great for, the business of, delivery services and things like that. But it's not, necessarily maybe the most healthy culture. I would have people, I was, I think when I first moved to Los Angeles, I was living over in Watts. Actually, I got a friend of mine over there.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, okay. Just this. Okay, but I was broke. Okay, I was a young man. All right, I was previously living in a hostel, actually, across from the Chinese theater. I don't think the hostel's there anymore, but I was living in a... Stop laughing at me, man. I was living in a hostel. I literally was there. And I met this guy, we hit it off, and he owned a studio in Watts. Well, okay.
You hit it off with a guy and he brought you to Watts.
We call, he goes by the name Blaze. And he had a bunch of, we had a bunch of guys there. It had a cool culture. Most of them are recording studio people, but he wanted like creative people. He wanted to create a studio. I mean, not wanted to. He did create a studio out of his house in Watts, which is actually pretty nice, actually. And I used to, I was there for a couple months while I was first in Los Angeles.
With your boy Blaze? Were you rapping in Watts?
No, I'm not a great rapper, but I would like hang out, and listen to shit and shoot the shit, but make jokes and things like that. But I'm not a rapper. I'm not a singer. I got a terrible singing voice. But it was a cool culture. But anyway, so I was over there, but I was doing consulting for people that were living. What's I'm trying to remember the hell it's called. It's nearby the YouTube studio. Can't remember what it's called anymore. Huh?
IMAX?
No. It's the area that the YouTube space is in.
Oh, Silicon Beach?
Yeah, the Silicon Beach area. But what was it actually called? Yeah. It has like an actual name. I can't remember what it's called because everybody calls it Silicon Beach.
Marvitsa?
Yeah. Okay. So I used to go over there, which can take some time to get over there. And people used to tell me I was crazy. Like, why are you driving so far, Carrie? And I'm like, far? Like, the distance is actually not that big. Like,
it's actually not far at all, dude.
It just can take a while, depending on what time of the day that you're driving. Yeah, also, people thought I was crazy to be living in Watts when I'm, Caucasian.
Which you are.
It's not crazy.
Watts,
okay.
Watts is the hood, dude. Watts is the hood.
I know it's the hood, but, all right. So I used to jog around Watts at night, actually. I used to do that. And it's I've been in much scarier places than that. And they're definitely, you got the people that are the night creature types that are all methed out and stuff. But this is my attitude, okay? This is my attitude. If you're jogging at night in Watts, they know you ain't got no money, okay? They're not going to mug you.
So it's like just kind of the vibe you gave off was like, hey, I ain't got no money.
Well, I mean, I'm dressed. Okay. I was dressed in like a t-shirt. I would have my weighted vest on, which I guess kind of looks like a bulletproof vest. But I was like,
you look like a cop. Carrie, I'm sorry. I've seen you in your early years. You look like a military cop.
It's because of the haircut. I wear a fade.
Yeah, the hair you had at the high and tight, like you're a white guy with a high and tight, goofed out military guy running in the streets of Watts.
My point is, I never had any problems from anybody. Okay, there's definitely crime there.
I'm sure you didn't have any problems because you look like you was wearing a bulletproof vest. And was part of the cops.
So I got a story actually. I was it wasn't in Watts, but it was like near Watts. I don't know it wasn't Compton or anything, but it was like near.
Are you drinking? By the way, are you drinking a drink?
Yeah. So
okay,
I got. I guess I'm getting off track here, but it's a pretty good story. So
keep drinking.
I was literally at a Planet Fitness, and part of my routine was I would take a jog with my headphones in, with my weighted vest. I think I had probably 50 pounds in it at that point. And I would work out at the gym, and then I would do a jog. And then I would jog at night again, because I was really trying to lose weight, get in shape, and things like that. And I had the police jump out on me in broad daylight. I had a cop stopped in the middle of the road, and he comes out, and he screams at me, "Put the bomb on the ground." And I'm like, what? Because I would jog, and I had one headphone in, and I had one headphone that was not in, so I could actually hear what was going on around me. Because I think people that just run.
And then you had C4 strapped to your.
Well, I guess they thought it was. So he screams, "Put the bomb on the ground," and I'm like, what? And then I had another cop car pull up on me, hits up on the curb even. Two cops jump out with shotguns, and they're behind the doors, and they're like, "Put the bomb on the ground, motherfucker!" And they're screaming at me. I'm like, I put my hands up. I'm like, whoa, calm down. It's like this is a weighted vest, and they're like, "Put it on the ground." I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put it on the ground. It's a weighted vest. I drop it. I literally let it drop and hit the ground so they could hear it bounce. And they're like, "Get on the ground." And I'm like, all right, I'm getting on the ground, guys. And so one of the cops comes over and he puts handcuffs on me in the back. And he's like, "Hey, buddy, you're not going to believe this." He's talking to the other guy. And he's like, "I think it really is a weighted vest."
Yeah.
So they detained me for a bit. I didn't get put in the back of the squad car or anything. They're like, "Why are you jogging around with a weighted vest?" I'm like, "I'm exercising." They're like, right. People called in and said you were running around screaming about bombs. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've been jogging for 10 minutes.
For 10 minutes you're jogging around.
I wasn't out very long. You can't jog very long for the 50-pound weighted vest.
Where did they get you yelling about bombs?
You had a fast response time, I'll tell you that. But no, I don't know. Somebody reported me. Some asshole reported me and almost had the police shoot me because they thought I had a bomb, I guess. So I didn't jog ever again in broad daylight, with my weighted vest, which kind of hurt my workouts.
You were at night, weren't you?
I did at night, sure, but nobody's going to call the cops on me at night.
Oh, wait! I thought this happened at night.
No, this was broad daylight. So I was jogging twice, as I said before. I would jog after I lifted at the Planet Fitness, and then I would jog again at night.
Wow.
So, yeah, that happened to me. That was, that was interesting. And, it's not the first time I had guns pointed at me, but, it was...
What was the other time? I want to hear that
Well, I was in the military, so... Actually, I used to be... You
mean in combat or in training, or what do you mean?
Well, there's a training, sure, but, I was in the military. What I will tell you is this. When I was young, I was in a street gang, actually. I was with a bunch of other... Stop laughing, man.
I'm sorry.
So, in Oregon, the streets of Oregon,
You're in a street. I'm just picturing 8-year-old Carrie Martell.
It wasn't 8 fucking years old. Well, sorry, I'm cursing here. There's going to be a little bit of cursing because some of my military side's coming out.
I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry. You were 9. You were 9 years old.
So here's the background. Okay, there's a part of time where I was hanging out with some rough people. Okay, and it was, we're all kids and stuff, but I had a stepbrother who was really involved with this chapter of the Crips in, what was it, Forest Grove? And I must have been like 16 or something, right? And I was hanging out with some rough people. Now, I never did anything to anybody, but I've got some stories I could talk about sometime. And some of it does involve, some showdown situations and brawls and people having guns and things. So at some point I could talk about that, but I'm not going to do it tonight. But I will say that it wasn't very long. I snapped out of it real quickly, and then I decided, you know what, I just need to join the military, which is what I did. So I have some understanding, at least, of how some of these, teenage street gangs operate, how people get mixed up into it and involved in it. At the time, I was really frustrated about a bunch of stuff. I was a little angry. I was looking for a place to belong, and my stepbrother was already in it, so I got kind of sucked into it. But, it got a little bit too serious, too fast for me, and that was probably a good thing, because I got out of it real quick before I got mixed up in anything too bad.
You had nothing else. It was like the last resort type thing. Like, you didn't know what else to do.
Well, it wasn't even... No, it was. I can't even say that, because it wasn't... It was just sort of, you got people around you who are all saying this is a great thing. You don't feel like, things are going well. You don't have control in your life. Right, it's peer pressure. So someone's like, hey, you can get involved in this. You'll be strong. You'll be a badass. You'll have a place to belong. You'll be kinship and brotherhood, which is all the same things the military can provide you. And it's the better, more moral way to do things, I think. So people can get
a lot more from military.
Yeah, so you can go different routes. Like the other guys I was hanging out with, they all had not the greatest life paths. But I joined the military at 17. I got away from all that. So anyway, we're getting a little off track from what we were talking about before with trust and motivated reasoning and crazy cult stuff. And I've had a lot of different life experiences because I just had this, my life just kind of feels sometimes like a roller coaster. I've had all these ups and downs. I've gone to all these different places, in life. Like we would probably never expect that I, for a short period, was involved with any street gang when I was a teenager, right? In freaking, Hillsboro, Beaverton area, Oregon. It's just, had a lot of life experiences. So I've met a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life, from a lot of different places. And it's given me a more broad, perspective, I think, on a lot of things. Then I spent a lot of time reading. And since YouTube came out, I've spent a lot of time watching, various types of videos about different types of cultures and people's lifestyles and true crime, just like all kinds of stuff. So I kind of think like I've just been the sponge of all this different information, which has helped me become a more pragmatic person, more realistic, try to be more objective in my approach. I don't know how you would ever reproduce me, but I did write a book, the Millennial Gentleman Handbook, that gives some guidance. And one of the things I'm a big proponent in is trying to use logic and reason and to help you sort out your problems, because that's they'll, you're not always going to have 100% the correct choices, but you're far more likely to make good choices, I think, if you use a logic-based approach to trying to find the truth, to find the best solutions to things. And I think that that's something that's not as common anymore as it probably should be for how much information we have access to now because of the internet. Like, a lot of people, I don't want to say that they're dumb, but they're not taking advantage of the educational opportunity that they have. We still have this culture where people, are too distracted by the entertainment, I think. They're too focused on the comforts, and they're just not lifting their eyes up and looking around and seeing what's going on the way that they should. People have been trained to focus on the national news and not pay attention to the local news. And then even what local news comes out, some of the people making the local news, they're not keeping their heads up either. Their heads aren't on a swivel. They're not reporting everything. That's certainly the case here in the local area, which is why I had to create the Yamhill Advocate in the first place. So it's just, there's a lot of things people need to take more responsibility for, more personal responsibility, and they just need to not feel like everything's something for somebody else to fix. Somebody else is going to be the hero. They're going to come save the day. That's not true. That's not how a democracy, a republic works. It takes...
It's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
Exactly. It's not how any of it works. You have to be involved. You have to pay attention. You have to feel like it's your responsibility, because it is. We don't teach citizenship anymore. Like, people just, you're born a citizen and you just have all these privileges and they're just there and you're guaranteed this. And citizenship has become this thing that people feel entitled to. And they don't feel any longer that it's a responsibility. It's not something to rise to. It's not something...
Well, I think a lot of it's not the fact that they're entitled. It's just the fact that they're born into it, so they don't really appreciate it that much. Like, they don't know anything else. Like, they've always had it. Whereas you have someone who's an immigrant, someone that has been in an oppressed country like Russia or China or anywhere else, and they're like, I understand the American dream. They work 10 times harder than any other American. They come out like they want it. Other people are entitled to it. Like, we can have the same thing. We can own, small businesses if we want. Like, anyone that was born into America could own a small business. But guess what? A lot of small businesses are owned by people that are coming into the country that are, like, saying, hey, I understand this opportunity. I understand what it's like to be an American. I come from a shitty country. I'm going to work my ass off. And then we wonder, like, people are saying, they're taking our jobs or whatever. Americans, It's like, dude, like they don't understand, like, what work ethic is, It's like, if you're just given something, it's not the same, if you're just given something, like, versus something where you're living, you have to work for what you earn, I don't know. It's like, there's a different thing to it. It's like, there's a lot of people though that are still like, they're born into American, like, they know the opportunity, they want to work hard and all that stuff. And I feel like I put myself in that category, but I still see like other people that are more immigrants that have been in oppressed countries that know the opportunity, that know that they have to work hard, or they can work hard. They see the opportunity there, they grasp it.
I agree with a lot of what you've said. Based on my own anecdotal experiences, so it can't apply to everybody, but I think that there is a difference between people who are, immigrated to this country. They were originally from somewhere else. They've come to America seeking an opportunity. In the same economic bracket, in this bracket I'm talking about, people that are low income, they tend to take it more seriously, and they tend to have in general, a better work ethic. Even the ones that have come to this country, illegally, I'm just going to say, illegally, the ones that I have known who have been here illegally tended to have a better work ethic than people who are, native-born citizens of this country, regardless of the ethnicity, who are in the same income bracket, I should say. Now, not everybody, of course, but there's definitely some people I can think of off the top of my head that are good examples of that. And what I think usually happens is, if you're a citizen and you do have a good, strong work ethic, by the time that you're at least 30, you probably have worked yourself up to a different income bracket. But there's a lot of people that haven't. There's a lot of people that don't. They feel entitled to all this stuff, right? Because I'm a citizen, I should get this and that, and they adopt all these unhelpful, I think, ideologies about how I'm owed all these things. I should get food just because I exist. Which, you know, I'm not saying people should starve to death because that doesn't make for a stable country. But the best way to make sure people are fed is for people to have a work ethic and work for the food, because there's people that are working to create the food. The people that are creating the food can't be the only people paying the taxes. Okay, that isn't how this works. You have to have a stable marketplace of exchange of goods and services to have a stable economy. We can't just expect only people to work who are making all the crap everybody else wants to buy. That's not how a stable economy works. But that's how a lot of people's economic philosophy has basically become. They think there should be people that make all the stuff that they want, and they could just stay at home and get free money, and they can work very low unskilled jobs and get paid as well as somebody who, you know, works in ambulance or as a police officer or, you know, even a manager. They should just get paid ridiculous amounts of money for something like flipping burgers. You know, that's an entry-level position. You're supposed to work up your way in the system, or just use that as a temporary means of income while you're in school or something. There's just too much entitlement for too many people. Not everybody, but too many people. Now, we're starting to see, I think, within people that are immigrating to this country, because of these social programs, a change in that perspective, though. There's definitely people who are coming to this country because they think they'll get a free handout and a free lunch, and they don't have to work for anything. And that, I think, really taints their futures, because that's not sustainable for anybody. It's just not a sustainable system. There always has to be people that are producing stuff, right? And those people can't be the ones who pay for all the taxes. Those people can't be the only people that work. That's not a good system. The best system is one where everybody works, everybody's pulling their own weight. The weight that they pull may be different, and because the weight is different, your compensation is different. But nevertheless, nobody's entitled to food. Nobody's entitled to shelter. We are born into this world naked with nothing except what other people give us and what we earn that they're willing to give us in exchange for our work. Now, you can inherit the wealth that's passed down that has been acquired by your family, right? That's a normal process. That's what got us out of the woods. You know, we created civilization by passing down knowledge and culture and technology, you know, all these things. That's a normal process. But now people are like, oh, you don't deserve what you got because you inherited it from somebody else that did the work. Well, you're the living DNA passed down by that person into the world. You're a copy in many ways of that person. So why wouldn't they pass on what they've acquired so that you can inherit it and take care of it and do more with it? That's just a normal process that should apply to anybody. It doesn't matter what your ethnicity is. That's just a human thing, right? So there's a lot of weird ideas people have come up with, and I think at the very root of it is just a lack of willingness to take on responsibility for their own lives. We've created a terrific country here in the United States. That's why everybody wants to come here. Even with the imperfections in our system, it is still the number one place in the world people want to move to. So there's a reason for that. And the reason is because we have a system where people can very rapidly, if you have a skill or a talent that is in high demand, you can rapidly change your social status. You can go up the income brackets. You can change yourself. You can basically become nobility in this country. And you can't do that in many, many other countries. You really can't. You don't even have to have citizenship to be able to rapidly rise up in class in the United States. It's a wonderful country. It really is. And there's definitely been problems in the past. There's definitely been injustices in the past, but you're looking at a country that's been around just shortly over 200 years. We've accomplished so much.
There was a Joe Rogan stand up, and he's like, guys, This is born in 1776. You know, what, 250 years ago, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, 250 years ago, he's like, you know, like, people are living older and older these days. They're living to be 90, 100 years old, you know. It's like, so that's 2.5 people ago. 2.5 people
right.
ago is when our country was founded. Like what the, like, dude,
that's not a lot of time, if you really think about it.
That's not a lot of time at all. Dude, that's 0 time. That's 0 time. Dude, that's insane.
You know, Rome was around for thousands of years, and they never ended slavery.
But Rome wasn't built in a day.
No, but my point is, like, there's countries, there's civilizations that have existed for a long time, and they never ended slavery within, you know, some of them still haven't, to be honest, and it's tragic, and we don't focus enough on that. But the United States ended it. The United States was on track to end slavery within the first, I think, decade the country was started, because I can't remember the name of the state, but one of the states literally outlawed slavery. It's one of the first things they ever did, and there was a contest on a contest of ideas and debates about how to end slavery, and it was eventually ended within about half a century of the country being formed. The end of slavery, and it was. No, you could argue it wasn't handled the best way. I think personally it was not handled the best way, but it was ended, and they did have. You know, for several decades, the Union was literally had a military occupation of the southern states to ensure that it was enforced. For all the problems and the policies, there was enforcement. And the main issue, I'm trying to remember the name of the event off the top of my head after I've had some drinks here, but there was a compromise that was made that allowed...
How many drinks have you had? One?
Well, I've had some drinks before we started this podcast, but they had a compromise that was made, and it allowed, you know, the introduction of the Jim Crow stuff, because they basically were trying to prevent another civil war, not over the issue of race relationships and slavery. I think it was an economic issue, but they removed the occupation during that time, and that allowed for, you know, not a complete rollback, but they definitely implemented a lot of bad policies. And what a lot of people don't understand is when you're trying to radically change the way that people have thought for 5,000 years, you know, civilization's been around for 5,000 years, and slavery's been around since all of that. Slavery's been part of the earliest legal codes that we know. This is something that's been ingrained, not just in you know, European cultures, because it wasn't created by European cultures. It was something that is part of every culture, really. There was slavery in the Americas, even, you know, and to eradicate that rapidly with military force, that doesn't necessarily translate into people just completely dropping their attitudes, especially because we haven't had science for a long time. People were, you know, using motivated reasoning. They would, this person looks different than me, so they must be part of a totally different race of person, and they must have these inherent, you know, physical characteristics, and they must be, you know, more smarter than me or less smarter than me, because I look at their culture, and I look at their technology, and I assume that because they have better or worse technology, they must therefore be more intelligent or less intelligent than myself, which is not true. The genes that have to do with skin color have absolutely nothing to do with the genes related to intelligence or any other physical ability for that matter. What it is that some cultures simply were benefited better by trade with other cultures and creating certain types of, you know, inventions and secret tactics and things like that. And it's just been a marketplace of ideas. And some cultures, until relatively recently, with different types of economic models, where people no longer consider selling their, you know, secret inventions to other people to be giving the enemy another tool to fight you with. We've currently created this global economy, which never existed like this before, right? Like for several thousand years, people hid how things like even silk were made. You know, like they were hiding things because if somebody knew something, then they would steal it from you and use it to destroy your country and all sort of stuff. And we don't have that level anymore. There's definitely military secrets, but, you know, not like how to manufacture basic goods like clothing. You know, we have a wonderful civilization globally today that has never existed before this time in you know, at least past 100 years. And a lot of people take it for granted because they don't know the history of humanity. They don't know it in a complete way. They don't truly understand it, which is why things like critical race theory can come in. They can exploit those knowledge gaps. They can exploit what very little scant information. This isn't an insult, it's just the truth. Scant information that our current educational system is teaching the children. They're not learning history in a way that I think is complete to be able to fend off these different ideologies that are basically quasi-religious. Critical race theory creates this fictionalized version of history that is designed to make it seem like everybody owns a blood guilt for things that happened that have nothing to do with them, and that everything was horrible, you know. And it's not really true. There's definitely bad things that have happened, but there's also a lot of good things too, which is why we have the type of civilization globally in most places in the world that just never existed. Even in like North Korea, which is it's a totalitarian state. The people in North Korea now are living way better than most of the princiest princes in some European countries did. They have access to technologies that make their lives way more comfortable. They do have access to medical care that never existed before. Most of them are not starving to death every day. I don't think starvation is actually
I think they're all fat and happy, probably.
They're doing, you know,
okay.
they're under a bad regime that could murder them for whatever. But most of them are not living too bad, which is why they're not having a violent uprising right now. And that's something that a lot of people have difficulty understanding. For all of the problems we have today, we have the luxury to investigate many of these problems because basics like water, clean water, housing, getting food that you don't have to hunt for, you're probably, especially in a country like the United States, you're very unlikely to starve to death because there's so much food that's being produced. We have too much of it. You know, there's a surplus of food. We're exporting food by the ship.
Yeah,
There's too much here. And we have all these programs to make sure people get fed, even if they're spending all their money on something like meth. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm simply pointing out that it's basic things that used to challenge humans a couple hundred years ago. We don't have those problems anymore. Like, we've sorted them out. And as a consequence of that, now people are focusing on things like whether or not somebody is 100% embracing my sexual identity and making that the most important thing in their life.
That's so important, right?
People didn't have time to really focus on those things in the past because every day required them to do something to make sure that they got fed and didn't get killed. You know, you had to make sure you didn't get eaten by the predators, or your neighbor decided that if they were hungry, they'll just go over and rob you and take your crap. These are things that can happen today, sure, but people usually don't rob people because they're literally going to starve to death. It's usually for other reasons now, sadly, like feeding addictions. And it's we have the luxury of many of the problems we have today. And that's not meant to dismiss them as being problems, because they are problems. But what I'm saying is that we're focusing on a lot of things that past generations didn't really focus on, because every day was a goddamn struggle for survival. And a lot of people don't appreciate that because they don't really understand our history. They have this false version of history in their head, and they think that past generations, they were focused on all these social issues too. Well, not really. This is a relatively new thing that people have had the luxury to focus on, because, you know, we've created such great technology. We've created these great systems of government that create all the basic needs for a person to be dealt with. And then you don't have to focus on that. You can focus on other things that can make you happy.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like with this movie, it's like, you know, what do I do with this? Because I want to make a big blockbuster movie, but at the same time, it's like, you know.
Well, exactly. But you had the luxury to focus on that. Did your great-grandpa have the luxury to focus on how am I going to make my next movie, you know? And so that becomes the all-consuming pursuit of your life, and that's okay, as long as you remember, like, in the grand scheme of things, what we're focusing on is not the deal breaker. Okay, you're getting food because there's food is easily accessible. Let's find what easily accessible means. You don't have to go out into the woods and scrounge and scavenge and hunt creatures. You don't have to do that to get food. In fact, most people don't anymore. Hunting is a hobby now. You know? So, like, we had the luxury to focus on these things, and because people become focused on these things, and we take for granted all these systems, people get their values a little bit mixed up, and they make these other things, these critical things, like, you're denying my existence if I can't do this or that. Your existence is not in danger, okay? You're getting fed, you got shelter, you've got something. You're probably not going to be robbed and shot in the night in most places in this country, okay? Most places, not everywhere, of course. But like I said, like, I could literally jog through Watts, because even with its high crime rate, you know, it's not like we're living in, you know, it's not like a demilitarized zone or something, okay? The people are not having constant warfare. Well, maybe Portland is having that these days. Like, Watts wasn't having that back when I was living there. So, like, our values just get a little bit mixed up. We don't see the social progress and the amazing type of society that we actually have. And by correctly viewing it, we can take these issues in the correct context, and we can solve them in a way that is pragmatic and not making everything a life and death struggle if somebody disagrees with your particular solution to the problem, right? We can discuss it in a reasonable way. It doesn't have to have the emotions. It doesn't have to have you're denying my existence if you don't 100% agree with my particular solution to this problem. That's not a constructive way to use your citizenship in this country. That's not going to lead to the best approaches, because you're using a motivated reasoning. You're using your emotions to guide you, and your emotions are wrong. Your emotions are often wrong. And we need to use logic to properly assess things. And we need to remember where humanity has come from. And we need to remember what our ancestors, all of our ancestors really, have all overcame the same problems. And we have this great system now. And let's make it better and better. Let's not try to dismantle and rebuild it. Why would we do that? It took us 5,000 years to get to this point. And the natural evolution of this system is to continue to add rules, you know, like the Civil Rights Act, to make sure there aren't these unnecessary discriminations. The solution to the last remaining embers of racism is not to bring racism back or create a new version of racism, a belief system where people declare, I'm a racist, and having a racist worldview is not the problem. That's not a good ideology. That's regressive. That's a step. Those are many, many steps backwards from the progress that has been accomplished over the past 5,000 years. I'd argue that's like a 200 years step back. You know, that's really bad, and that's not the direction. And it frustrates me that that's the direction so many people are going, because they don't take the time to understand our history and really think about things in the proper context and use logic and understand. Sometimes just because you feel something was caused for a certain way doesn't mean it was caused for that way. You need to really explore and understand that problem and then come up with a solution that's going to be workable and not just make your ideologies decide everything. One of the worst things I think a person can do is, because you believe something, that means everybody has to agree with it. The worst thing you can do is just feel, this is the way that things should be, and I don't care if somebody else points out the problems with it. I'm going to do it anyway. That's not a mature and reasonable way to do things. And if people had maybe some of the consequences that they used to have, where like you make bad choice and you starve to death, then a lot of those people would weed out, but they're not weeded out anymore. So now we have to really try hard to use, logic to make good choices, because those types of consequences don't exist, and it's good that they don't exist. You shouldn't have to starve to death just because you made some bad choices. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that because our civilization has evolved to a point where there can be no quick punishments for bad decisions, it's all the more important for us to use logic to make sure that we don't cause these huge problems where people are trying to dismantle and rebuild America and create autonomous zones that quickly descend into anarchy and cause a dozen people to get shot to death because we have these people operating like untrained police officers and creating their own little country in the middle of, Seattle or something like they did with Chaz. It's very unfortunate what happened there. And it was totally preventable because we don't need to dismantle and rebuild the systems we have. We just continue to use them and improve them. That's what we should be doing. So, I know it's a long rant. I'm talking a lot. I've had a few drinks, but, I'm so... More people need to hear this stuff. They just have to hear this stuff. And they've got to understand people have formed cults. And these cults tell them to shut their ears and just go into an echo chamber. Don't listen to everybody else. If somebody has the wrong opinions than you, they must be a racist. They must be an evil fucking person if they have other ideas than yours. And that's not it. What defines evil really is the actions a person takes. If you're doing something and you know that it's going to cause harm to that person, you don't have to cause that harm to that person. That's fucking evil, okay? Murder, rape, all that kind of stuff, that's evil. Those are evil things to do. But it's also evil to poison a person's mind and have them turn on their neighbors, turn on their family and friends, because you've convinced them that other people that have a different point of view than yourself, there must be evil people that just want to destroy and hurt you. And teaching kids to think that way, teaching kids to judge themselves by their skin colors and fear other people that could potentially be their greatest allies. That's an evil, evil thing to do. You're just continuing racism when there's no logical reason for the type of civilization the United States has for racism to even exist. We have such wonderful knowledge that's been acquired about science. We know that there's no truth whatsoever to the concept of races. There's just none. The idea of human races is not true. There's no reason to continue this nonsense. And yet people do anyway, because it feels right in their heart. It feels right in their heart because they won't take the time to really understand what's going on. And somebody did something wrong to them and they said it was because of their skin color, so that lets them justify, I'll just be a racist back to them, and the cycle just doesn't end. And then they come up with these ideas of blood debts and blood guilt, and I'm owed this and that because this terrible thing happened to my ancestors. Even though it wasn't your particular ancestor that did all this crap, you're still, because you have the skin color of this person, it must be your responsibility to make it right for me. It's not a constructive way to think, and I do think it's evil because of what it causes people to do. It's not about what they think. It's about what it causes people to do. The actions are evil. Thoughts aren't evil. It's their actions. I know it's a long rant, but I'm gonna let you have some time now to talk, because I think I've talked too much here, and I'm not giving you enough time. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, no, I feel for you, man. No, I feel it.
So this has been about an hour-long podcast, and I'm gonna give you like 10, 15 minutes. You can choose the next topic for what we talk about, and then we'll wrap this up.
Okay. All right. Critical race theory, huh? Sorry, I don't want. I'm just gonna. I don't want to jump into that right now. So let's go back to the dating as a millennial gentleman.
Okay.
In the 21st century. In
All right.
2021. Who has the advantages? Do you think, guys or girls in these dating apps? What do you think, Gary?
It's a mix. It's not. I don't think the advantage actually is about gender. I think it's simply about attraction. I think it's how attractive you are, to be honest. Because, so first off, if you're gay, obviously, does it matter? You're competing against people of the same gender yourself anyway, right? But even if you're looking at, like, just heterosexual people, guys that are super attractive, all the girls want to go with those guys, right? And if you're a guy, you're going to gravitate toward the most attractive girls too. In general, you really are. And, what I used to do on the channel, I used to review people's dating profiles and, like, read them. That's really not how most people, use dating apps. They're gravitating toward the fast food type of thing, looking at the most attractive people. And there's this, I can't remember what it's called in psychology, but there's this phenomenon a lot of people do, where they think because I see this person as a prospective date, and I view them as a prospective date because they're in the dating app, right? I can message them, they're here to find a date, so I view them as a potential mate. The person convinces themselves that individual is obtainable to me as a mate. Now, that could be true. That could be a true statement. But when you have almost every young person, every young bachelor and bachelorette in an entire, 100-mile radius of you, who's also using this frickin' app, the cream rises to the top. People gravitate toward the most attractive people, and they swipe left on the less attractive people, even if those people might be more likely to go on the date with them because they're the ones that aren't getting overwhelmed with all these options, all these messages and stuff, right? Like, let's be realistic. The average person is not chatting with 1,000 people that are messaging them. If you look like, the spitting image of, I don't know, Tom Cruise or something, right? You're getting all these women. Yeah. You're getting every woman throwing themselves at you, right? And likewise, if you're a girl and you look like, I don't know, Marilyn Monroe. You look like Marilyn Monroe. Like, you get guys throwing themselves at you. So you're overwhelmed. So all you do is you go through there and you're like, is this person attractive? Are they the most attractive people? And then you'll prioritize yourself by the most attractive people that will message you, right? And obviously you can't go on 100 dates a day. You can't even go on 100 dates a week, right? Or maybe even a month. Most people can't. So at best you could do a date a day, okay? And even that is probably unrealistic for most people. Most people are probably only having one date a week. So realistically, you're meeting 4 people a month, right? There's just like a huge, focus on these people who realistically are probably not going to date you. So people just have to bring their standards down a bit, right? Maybe you're going to get the dude who looks like Tom Cruise. Maybe you're going to get the Marilyn Monroe lookalike. But you're probably not. You're probably not. Not because you're not good enough, but because they're never going to read your fucking message. So, it's just created a bad culture where people ignore people that might be more obtainable as a mate to them. I think that's really what the problem comes down to. In the number one issue, right? And I'm just throwing fractions out here randomly, but that's probably 90% of the problem with the dating apps and the dating culture. People are trying to get those who are unobtainable to them, not because they're out of their league in terms of attractiveness, but because those people are overwhelmed with options. The second problem is when you do create your profile, having absolutely no idea how to present yourself as a mate. Because once somebody does click on your profile, they're going to probably look at more than just your photo. They're going to read what you wrote about yourself. They're going to examine your photos because they got options, right? So you read the person's profile, and if they come across as a crazy person, you're probably not going to message them. And even more, if they come across as a person that you would never want to meet in real life, you're not going to want to meet them either. And then, if you're a really intelligent person, and intelligent as in you really understand what are the factors that make for a good, healthy relationship, not just a hookup, because if you just want to hook up, it doesn't matter what the person says, because you're not trying to have a relationship or probably even much of a conversation with the person, right? You're just trying to get your rocks off. And that's applicable for both guys and girls, no matter what your sexual orientation is these days. What a person, if we want a relationship, we're going to look for somebody that understands what makes a relationship good. And I think for men, it is showing that you've got something to offer the relationship within this, traditional role of men in the relationships, which is being a provider. Likewise for girls, what are you going to show that's going to show that you're going to be a good wife? Not in a submissive way, but like you're going to pull your weight in the relationship as a woman tends to do. Raising children, okay? And that has many skills with it, which includes cooking, includes having the necessary moral qualities to teach the kids to be moral themselves, having, just seeming like you're not the type of person that after you get, impregnated, you're going to have some type of postpartum depression and possibly drown the kids. I know that sounds horrible, but if you're on the dating apps and you look at a lot of the women that are available, some of them literally, there's a thing people are doing now where they're dressing up like killer clowns and they're tattooing their faces with, to make them look like the fucking thing from It. The Stephen King movie. Like, there's some crazy nonsense going on in our culture. And I look at these people and I'm like, let's just say that I was into clowns. Let's say I had a clown fetish, okay? Let's say that got me my rocks off. Why would I choose that person who literally looks like a serial killer from a movie as my mate? Because they're just so obsessed with this horror stuff, maybe they'll kill the kids. You don't know. So there's just people don't know how to present. Not everybody. I'm being too generalized, but there's a large portion of people who don't know how to present themselves as a mate. They know how to present themselves as a prospective hookup. And I think part of that is definitely a consequence of our advertising and the hookup culture that's been created as a result of, media glamorizing that stuff. And that doesn't make for a good relationship. And then people form these relationships haphazardly. They hook up with somebody, and I really like your personality, or just because you're there, or just because of the psychological phenomenon of the person you had sex with, releasing all these, dopamine and hormones and things to form a strong bond. Some people are a lot more, that affects them a lot more than others. So they want to form a relationship with this random person they just hooked up with that they met the night before. And they didn't choose that person because they said, oh gosh, the profile said they're going to make a great wife or husband or whatever. They chose in the relationship because the person's just attractive. And those aren't the qualities that people used to pick mates by. It wasn't just because you were attractive. It's because you had a certain moral substance to yourself that were qualities that made for a stable relationship. And we've lost that with the type of dating culture that we have. And I think that we need to fix that, because it's probably the number one reason why the divorce rate is so high. It's probably the number one reason why out of wedlock, motherhood is so high. It's because people aren't choosing mates based on qualities that make for good mates. They're choosing mates based on who they can get in bed with. And that's not the smartest way to choose a mate. I've ranted a lot, didn't I? Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Still there, dude? Jermaine. Did you pass out, dude?
No, I'm here.
Where'd you go?
I don't go anywhere. I'm right here. I'm listening.
Dude, you sound like you're passing out. Did I just fucking bore you to death? Sorry, I'm cursing again.
I poured me one. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's such a weird thing. It's such a weird predicament. It's a smaller town, so it's not making big waves, but it's like not big enough or big. I don't know. It's like a girl that's in a strip. She takes her top off. Oh no. Heaven forbid that happening. So yeah, I don't know.
So you think that they should be more, open about the getting in bed part?
Yeah.
I never had that problem, to be honest. I'm not trying to gloat or anything, but
Oh, way to rub it in.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'm the most attractive guy. I think I'm pretty average looking, to be honest. But I just I guess I'm just persuasive. I guess, and that plays a lot of it. I've got a bit of a persuasion to me. So I usually, not always, of course, but there's definitely more often than not, if I go on a date with a girl, there's usually a hookup. So I have a lot of experience, which in some ways I've after reassessing my life, I'm turning 39 now, might not have been the best way to go about my dating, and I could have made better choices. Looking back, there's definitely some women that I dated when I was younger that would have made great wives, I think. That might just be rose-colored glasses, but that's how I view it now. And there's opportunities that I could have explored, but I was focused on other things. And I didn't settle down. And as a consequence, don't have children. Now I'm trying to do it in a kind of dating climate where people aren't focused as much on monogamy. Like the number of people on there, they're like, I'm already married, but we're a married non-monogamous relationship. And I'm like, monogamy literally means marriage, I think. Like, how do you have a marriage non-marriage, It's crazy. Jermaine? Dude! Jermaine! I killed Tremaine. Okay, guys, this is going to be the end of the podcast for tonight. I hope that you guys got something out of this. Sorry, it was a lot of me ranting. And next time, Tremaine and I, we're just going to have the whole conversation we do at night as a podcast. You're not going to miss the first 2 hours of us chatting about the Hollywood industry and movie industry and things like that. See you guys in the next episode. Laters.